Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. This channel is dedicated to finding out whether I really do know it all or not. Make sure you ask questions in the comments, and definitely if you enjoy this, make sure you mash the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. Okay, so today I was thinking about, I've been looking at SpaceX and Tesla a lot recently, and I started to think about the synergies that the two of these companies have together. They share a lot of things. Now, obviously, they are two completely individual companies, but the most obvious thing that they share between them is Elon Musk. And there's a lot of synergy between the two companies that makes both of the companies better. And so I figured I would just talk briefly about that today, and I thought it would be an interesting thing to discuss. The first thing that might not be the most obvious thing is that they share a brain power. Elon Musk has a wonderful quote about how it doesn't matter how much money you have. There are only so many talented scientists and engineers in the world, as there are with anybody. There's only so many talented, artists, etc., that are at the top level. But that's a really critical part. It doesn't matter if you have billions of dollars to throw at a problem if you can't hire people who are going to help you get there, right? So the fact that they are able to share some of the scientists, some of the people between the teams is absolutely huge. And even if that's just on a temporary basis, that's fine. But one of the most interesting aspects is the material science between the two different companies, and they actually share the same vice president. I hope I get his name right. Forgive me if I mispronounce it, but it's Dr. Charles Koyman, I believe. Anyway, so he is the vice president, senior vice president of both material sciences at Tesla and at SpaceX. And think about the power that that gives them. The obvious outcome of this is the Cybertruck, which is using the same 30X mystery stainless steel that SpaceX is developing for their Starship. So both of these companies are able to work on the same material and utilize that material to create new entities in transportation, well, ground transportation and space transportation, that have never really existed before. So that's an absolutely massive advantage that they have, that a company that was only doing one of these wouldn't be able to share between the two of them, because they kind of get a two-for that way, right? They get to share the same material science between the two companies. I also believe that there's like carbon fiber that's being used in the Model S, at least, that was developed at SpaceX. So there's a lot of interchange that way. SpaceX also has a lot of error checking that they can do. I know that they did like an ultrasound, so they were able to tell Tesla how to check their materials that they were using. I believe this was when they were in Model 3 production hell, but they were able to use ultrasound techniques that SpaceX had developed to look at the materials that they were stamping and make sure that they didn't have any defects in those materials. So that sped up production eventually of the Model 3 greatly, and obviously has led to Tesla being a much more stable company now than they were a couple of years ago when they were trying to get the Model 3 out the door. Okay, so we've got brain power and we've got manufacturing techniques and so forth. There also are things like bulk purchases. SpaceX purchases a whole bunch of stuff from Tesla. The most obvious things are batteries and motors. The Starship, I know, is supposed to use the batteries and the motors as actuators for their fins that they're going to be moving around. I believe that the Falcon 9 also contains some elements from Tesla company things. And because of the fact that they can share, now obviously SpaceX has to purchase these materials from Tesla because they're individual companies, but they're able to bulk purchase these, and probably, I would assume, they're able to get in line first above other competing customers. So, that allows them to have a leg up in terms of that. So it's not just SpaceX to Tesla, but there's also Tesla to SpaceX. One thing it's hard to find evidence about, but I believe there's probably a good deal of sharing, is the artificial intelligence / machine learning that is being utilized by both companies. Both of them depend massively on that, certainly to launch rockets, but especially to land the SpaceX rockets is a huge machine learning challenge. And obviously they've pretty much solved it at this point, since they seem to be able to land these things at will almost now under extreme conditions. But obviously the autopilot in all of the Tesla cars is also an example of machine learning / AI, and I've done some episodes on that up here if you're interested in that. But I think that that's important too, right? If they're sharing that code base, or if they're sharing even techniques and so forth between the companies, there's a massive synergy that happens between them that way too. And the last thing I want to touch on is advertising, and I put advertising in quotes because neither SpaceX nor Tesla actually advertises at all. But I guess what I should say is cross-marketing or cross-branding or something like that. A recent really obvious example of this is when the astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley flew to the ISS on the Crew Dragon. They went in a white Tesla Model X, and that's huge cross-branding, right? Tesla, all of a sudden, there's like, if you look at the search history, there's this big spike in searches for Tesla after this happened. So you can tell that there's like cross-branding marketing going on. In addition, it goes the other direction. Not only does Tesla get things like also the Roadster, of course, when Elon Musk launched his Roadster into space in 2018 on the first Falcon Heavy ride. But it goes the other direction too. There's a lot of goodwill towards SpaceX because Elon Musk is the president or CEO of both of those companies. And therefore, you know, if there's goodwill for Tesla, there's also going to be goodwill for SpaceX. And there's going to be some added visibility to SpaceX because of Tesla. I would imagine I don't own a Tesla car. I wish I did. Speaking of aspirational brands, right? They don't spend any money on advertising, and my 12-year-old son knows about Tesla. He can spot them on the road. He's like, Tesla, 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 right? He doesn't care that much about other cars, but he sure as heck cares about Teslas. Anyway, I do too. I wish I owned one, but I don't at this point. But the point of this is, of course, that when people buy a Tesla or drive a Tesla, they're going to probably have goodwill towards SpaceX in addition to that. So SpaceX and Tesla are obviously, since they're run by the same person, there's a lot of connection in people's minds between the two. And so therefore, if you own a Tesla car, you're much more likely to think highly of SpaceX as well. I wish I could actually do a little survey on that and find out, but I'm pretty sure that that's true. We'll just take that as anecdotal for the moment. But anyway, you can see that there are several ways in which SpaceX and Tesla help each other out. They help their brands out. They help their manufacturing out. They help their material science out. There's all of these things where they have this synergistic relationship with each other. And in a way, they're both better companies because of the fact that they are in a relationship with the other company. Very, very cool stuff. Both of them, I wish the best of luck. They've both beaten amazing odds. To start a new car company is ridiculous. To start a space company is ridiculous. Both of them should have failed. Neither of them did. Good for SpaceX, you know, good for Tesla. Got to give them a lot of credit for that. Okay, if you enjoyed this episode, definitely make sure you hit the thumbs up button and subscribe, and definitely ask questions in the comments or at my email address, which is DrKnowItAllKnows@gmail.com. Till next time, bye-bye.